In interviewing Zak, how did you apply that kind of framing of preparation and research, that as a kind of task? How did you approach that?
So first and foremost, an absolute honour and a privilege to interview Zak Brown, one of the figureheads in the sport and doing wonderful things at McLaren, not just in Formula One, but stateside as well, and in terms of the business. And so you've got to almost park the sort of gravitas of the occasion and just imagine that you're sitting down in a coffee shop or a pub or wherever you are and just trying to have that sort of relaxed and informal conversation. Zak is super polished and brilliant when it comes to his media commitments. So he's a wonderful talker. He comes across really well. He shares a lot of information. He's got a wonderful manner about him. So he's a joy to interview in terms of when you ask him a question, he's going to talk and talk and talk. And that's brilliant. He's very polished. He knows what he wants to say before you've asked the question. So you've always got to bear that in mind to stay on track. And whatever question you're going to ask him, he's going to stay true to whatever it is he wants to say. So you got to be quite formal in that respect. But I think we got some good points across. Whenever you do an interview like that, you've almost got to run through the questions that you're going to present, just so McLaren and Zak are prepared, but also happy with the information share and the tone and how it is that and what it is that you want to get out of the interview. So you stick to that and you prepare in that way. And I thought the end product was quite good. We got one or two exclusives there, 3 cars for 2023, and Alexander Rossi's fast becoming the worst kept secret in the IndyCar paddock in terms of where he's going next year. So it was a great afternoon, a great day out at McLaren, a wonderful venue to do an interview at, and yeah, it was great to sit down with Zak, and I thought it paved the way into our Indy 500 coverage quite well.
Because it felt like it was really important for that broadcast for people watching IndyCar for the first time, and to be so involved as the lead presenter, lead commentator for you in bringing new audiences to IndyCar and kind of breaking down a sport that to some extent can be quite simple. It's a car race, just trying to win it. But there are so many layers to the strategy and differences and similarities to Formula One. And I think, Zak as a figure really does kind of bridge those two. You mentioned there's an element of like media training and kind of approval from McLaren that goes into it. Do you feel like there's an attempt to overcome people's media training when you're interviewing them? You want the real answers, not just what the rehearsed ones have been. How do you feel that element plays out in motorsport interviews?
You know what? I think it all boils down to trust. So it's about making sure that they feel comfortable and that you're building an element of trust, A, in the short term, but B, also in the long term. And that is very important. There's a lot of conversation and a lot of information that goes on behind the scenes that you might be holding that you might not necessarily be able to talk about. And there's certain people that can't wait to get that information out there. They tend not to get trusted with information in the future. And it's about what you do with that information and how we've all got to work together to bring that information to the forefront at the right time, because it's sensitive for a reason, and everything has to fall into place like a giant jigsaw puzzle. So when drivers are being announced, there's an order and there's a reason, and a lot of it's based on commercials and various different things. And if you go out there and fire the cannon in early, then you're not going to get trusted. So that side of things, it's not so much overcoming their media training, but it's about earning trust. And I think that's been the biggest lesson for me, making sure people can trust you with the information that they have, and your time will come when it comes to exclusives and when it comes to announcing things.
Because it seems like in the long run, it will play out in your favor to be in that sort of liminal space between, you're not just letting them follow their rehearsed answers. You're kind of asking them about things maybe they haven't considered before, or things that aren't just going to be perfectly rehearsed answers. But you can't go too far the other way in trying to search for, quick, snappy headlines or taking quotes out of context or things like that, which is realistically something that does play a big part in sports media, especially beyond F1. Something like football, it's really taken to the extreme, especially in the UK.